Hi, I'm Andy, aka Googleman, and this is my guide to processing emails in Gmail.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's Googleman. Hi everyone, and welcome back to aka Googleman. If you haven't done so already, please click subscribe with the notification bell below so you'll get told when new videos come out. If you're watching this and you're anything like me, you will be back in school this week getting ready to teach students for the first time in 6 months. So I hope all goes well for everybody here. Now, email, in my opinion, is the devil. I will concede that it's a great way to communicate, and particularly the last few months, it has been absolutely crucial when it comes to talking to people that you really need to get hold of, whether it is colleagues, friends, students. Okay. However, it can build up in a massive way, and you could be dealing with a huge inbox for you to have to go through. And I know from my perspective, coming back into school, I know my email numbers are about to go a lot higher. What I'm going to go through today is how I feel it is best for you to process those emails to get your inbox down to zero most of the time. And I'll be talking about this specifically in terms of what Gmail is capable of doing. Now, a lot of these things do appear in other kind of programs and other services, but I'm going to be focusing on Gmail. I'm talking about shortcuts. Now, I talked about shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, a couple of videos ago when I was talking about Chromebooks, and I'll link that for you. But I'm going to be talking specifically about the ones that you can use in Gmail. So it doesn't matter whether you're on a Chromebook or a PC or a Mac, all of these will work in exactly the same way. So they're completely transferable. Now, like a lot of my Thursday videos, this is kind of a remake of one that I originally did just for EWS. So if you do work with me at EWS, a lot of this will be familiar to you. However, in that original video, I talked about emails as having one of 5 things that you should do with them. But actually, having looked at it over the last few months, I think that really your target is to do one of 2 things with them, ultimately at the end, because your target is to get those emails out of your inbox, whether it's to another list, whether it's to a label. You are going to either delete or archive those emails at the end of it to get it out of your inbox. Okay. What you do with them on that journey to that point, we will talk about in this video, and that's where it will link back to my original. But instead of treating it as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you're going to go through a kind of a flowchart process to this, and I will show you that flowchart. I will link to a copy that you can view down in the description, and as we go through, I will show you that flowchart as well, and you will see me using that in the context of some emails as well. So if that sounds like something that will be useful to you, let's jump in. Okay, so here we are in my inbox, and I've got some mock emails that we're going to go through here. Now, in this, we're going to be using the flowchart I mentioned earlier on. In this example, I'll just show you the flowchart here. Okay, there are several steps that you go through. I'm not going to go through it all right this second. I'll go through the steps one at a time as I go through these emails, and you'll see all of the pathways that you can go through with this flowchart. The first thing I'll say is that as a teacher, it's quite important, in fact, very important that we keep our emails open all of the time. Now, there are some businesses that are really lucky. As a worker, you can choose when to check your emails during the day. You can set some time aside, but we get, really urgent and critical emails at times. If you're a teacher in a classroom, you might get an email to give an urgent message to a student, or that you need to keep an eye out for a student that's gone walkabout. If you're a member of a leadership team, you will need quick access to your emails. So if something is going wrong that you need to be part of, it's there. So it's a mindset change when we do look at our emails, okay? Keep an eye out for those urgent ones. And, when you look at the subject line of an email, you can often tell if it's one that you need to act on immediately, and that it's about a message or a missing student or something like that. So use your common sense. If you don't have those emails in your inbox when you pass your eye over, do not do anything with them. Okay, unless it's something needs actioning straight away, then don't do anything about it. And most emails that we get while we're teaching, we don't need to do anything with, and people don't require an immediate reply. Okay, it's only a relatively small number of cases where there is, though, perhaps more so for teachers, but in most cases still. You can leave emails to a set time. If you want to check break time, lunchtime, end of the day, whatever. Okay. So what we're going to do here is apply this thinking to this inbox here. So none of these emails are ones that require necessarily urgent action to be taken. I've done that on purpose. But there are some emails in here that I can tell by looking at those subject lines are particularly important and will be quite quick for me to deal with. You might have noticed the one that I'm talking about here is I've lost my mug. Okay, now in my case, I don't have that mug. Okay, I don't have anybody's lost mug. The only ones I have are mine. So what I will do is I will go into that email. Has anyone seen my mug? I left it in the staff room. Now, I haven't seen that mug. Okay, so I will now start going through that flow chart. Question 1, does this require me to perform a task? No, it doesn't. This is not a task that I need to do. Okay, I'm not telling anyone about a mug. Next step down is no. Do I need to reply to that email? In my case, no, I haven't seen the mug and it's pointless me replying to that email. Next step down is, do I need to keep that email? Honestly, no, I'm not going to be concerned in a couple of months' time as to whether I still have that email about a lost mug. So I'm just going to delete that email and just get it out of my inbox and out of my emails entirely. I have the delete option at the top here, but as I mentioned earlier on, I'm going to be talking keyboard shortcuts as we go along. The keyboard shortcut in Gmail for deleting an email is the hash key on your keyboard. So if you just press that key, that email will be deleted and moved to your bin. You still have access to that. You can undo it, as you see there. So you could go back and look at it if you wanted to. Next up in my email list is the information on student X. So again, I'll go into that email and it's someone saying, can we have information on this student for communication home? So does this require me to perform a task? Yes, it does. It requires me to gather some information and send it on to another member of staff, or indeed direct to a parent, perhaps, depending on the circumstances. Next step along then is this going to take me more than 5 minutes? To be honest, probably not. Most of the data and information I have will either be in my head because I'll know my students, or it will be in a readily available, perhaps, data page. We use Go for Schools at EWS. I know other schools use programs like Sims and things like that. So all this information should be readily available. So does it take more than 5 minutes? No, it doesn't. So go down and you do that task. If it takes you less than 5 minutes, just do it before you move on. And at that point, you will say, you've gathered that information. Do you need to reply to that email? Yes, you do. You absolutely need to reply to that email with the information that you have gathered from your task list. At which point you've obviously got the reply option there. But again, keyboard shortcut, press the R button and you get a box then to type your email into. Once I've replied to that email, I'm not going to type a direct reply here. Once you've replied to that email, do I need to keep that email? I would say in this instance, yes, because once you've replied, obviously you've got the stream of emails as well, so you can check the information that you've got. And if someone says, did you send me that email? And you can say yes, or perhaps they've lost it or something like that. You know, it does happen. Things get lost along the way, so you could resend it. So you need to be able to keep that. And you can, again, search that name. Do I need quick access to that email? No, I don't think so. So I can just straight and archive that email. At the top, I've got the archive option here. But again, the keyboard shortcut for that is the E key. I press E and it will archive that email. It's not removed from Gmail. If you go to the all mail list, so if I come down the left-hand side here, click on more, and I get to all mail. If I click in there, I will see all of the emails, whether they are in my inbox, my archive, my bin, everything is there. So it's nice and easy to find. Or you can use the search bar at the top, which in fact, if you press the / key, which is the same place as the question mark, you get access to the search bar at the top there, and you can type in perhaps the name of the student in question. Okay, so that's that one. Archived. Okay, next one up, meeting. I go into that. The question in there is, are you free for our meeting this afternoon? Does this require me to perform a task? No, it does not. So I will jump straight down to, does this require a reply? Yes, of course it does. Someone's asking me a question. So as before, I will reply to that email. I will press R. I will type my reply. Do I need to keep that email is the next question. No, of course I don't. Chances are that meeting is already in my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, I would do it now. I would put it into my calendar now. And then I don't need to keep the actual email itself. So I can delete that with the hash key on my keyboard. Next up, I have the agenda email. Now, this is one that we quite often get. It will have information on what is happening in that meeting. Now, does this email require me to perform a task? No, it does not. Does it need a reply? No, not really. Not unless you're asked a direct question along with that. Like, is there anything else you would like to add to the meeting, perhaps? Do I need to keep this email? Yes, I do. It's the agenda. It is information that I need access to relatively quickly. Now, what I'm going to do with that is I have two options. I need quick access to this as well. So the next question, do I need quick access? Yes, because I want to be able to see it quickly in the meeting and know which one it is. So I have two options here. I can either star that email or I can label that email. I'll show you both options for this one now before we move on. So the first option is star. It's the one that I prefer because it is very, very quick. And this is all about speedily working through emails. You've got a star icon there, which once you click, that email becomes starred. And it goes onto the starred list, which I will show you in a moment. Again, though, I'm talking keyboard shortcuts. The S key on your keyboard will star or unstar that email. So what will happen is I will star that email. It will go into the starred list. Once I'm done with that, I've had that meeting, I will then go in and I will unstar that email because the next step after I've starred it or labeled it, which I'll show you next, is to archive. I'll come to that in a moment. Now, the next step here is, or the next option is you could label the email. So you might have a label or a folder, if you're an Outlook user, that will just be perhaps for meeting agendas and things like that. So at the top here, I've got the labels button. So if I just click on that, it gives me a few options. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new label, which if this is the first time you're doing it, you might well need to do. So create new, and I'm going to call it meeting information. I will then click on create. And what it now then does is it adds the label meeting information to this email. And if I come down the left-hand side here, I've got meeting information. I will click on that and you should see that this email is in there as well. If I come up to the starred list, because obviously I starred this email earlier as well, it also appears in the starred list. Now, don't do both. Put it in one list or another. Like I say, I tend to use starred lists, but feel free to use labels instead, depending on how many different things you are juggling at the same time. Once I've done that, if I'm back in that email, obviously I want to jump between menus. I will have starred it, I will have labeled it. I need to keep it. I'm going to archive that email. Okay, as you can see, what you'll have noticed is that the inbox label has disappeared, and that's all that happens when you archive an email. Inbox itself is not a folder, it's a label, and that label is taken away when you archive. Okay, back into my inbox. Student profile. Please find below the profile for student Y. Please keep this email for your reference. Okay, so does this require me to perform a task? Yes, it does. It requires me to read this particular profile. Is this going to take me more than 5 minutes? Probably not. Most schools now use some kind of one-page profile. So look at that profile and familiarize yourself with that student, particularly this time of year with new students coming in. Really worthwhile thing to do. Do I need to keep this email? Yes. In fact, I've been asked directly to keep this email, so I am going to do that. Do I need quick access to that email? Not necessarily. Chances are it will be available somewhere else, perhaps within the register system, but I'm still going to keep it. And again, I can search for that email later on. So I am simply going to press E and archive that email once I have finished reading it. And then finally, this last email here, please could you create and send a scheme of learning for this term? This is quite a generic email, but it represents something very, very important. Does this require me to perform a task? Yes, it's asking me to do a task directly. It's asking me to create and send a scheme of learning. So will this take me more than 5 minutes?
chances are yes. Unless you already have done the work already, then it will take you more than 5 minutes to complete this task. So in this case, I need to add it to my task list. Now, there are several options here for this, depending on your personal preference. My preference is to use Google Tasks, and I obviously have a Google Tasks video previously, which I will link above and below for you as well. And what I can do with that, with this email, I have the option just here to add to tasks. I'm not going to click that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Shift and T, and it is going to add that email to my task list. What this will then allow me to do is set a date in there. I can then quickly access that email. I can change the name of the task. I'm not going to do that here because all that is covered in my previous video. So please go have a look at that one. Once I've done that, I can then archive that email. Okay. Before I do it for here, I'm going to take a slightly different step. I'm going to snooze this email. So if you're not using Google Tasks and you're using, say, a different task manager or just a pen and paper, this will allow you to kind of push this email back. So at the time that you have chosen, you will get this email back in your inbox reminding you of that task. Okay, really handy if you've set a time to do these tasks in, just like you would have done in Google Tasks. So for this, I've got the option up here to press the snooze button. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut. I'm going to, in my emails, press B. I'll get the option. I get some set times of options of when I want to do things. The last time that I snoozed something for will also be on that list. So if you've got a set time where you do several tasks at once, perhaps you can do that. But if you want to select a particular time and date, go into here. I want to set this for Monday. I want it to be at 9 a.m. on that day. I will click save. And what actually happens is that email is taken out of my inbox. So the archive step is kind of done for me and it's put into the snoozed list rather than the archive list. And I can show you that here. You can see I've got the SOL scheme of learning email in there. And that's it. That is how I would process those emails. And that covers all the steps and all the different routes that you can take in that flow chart.
Okay, so that's my guide to processing emails in Gmail. I really hope you found that useful. Like I said in my video about Chromebooks, check out all the keyboard shortcuts available to you. Obviously, I've given you some examples there to do with Gmail, but all of the apps in G Suite have got some kind of keyboard shortcut list in there. If you just type in question marks or shift and / you will get that list appear on there, and do use them because particularly doing things like processing email, it can speed things up a lot. Right, so what do you do when you are dealing with your emails? Do you have a process that is different and that you think is better to this one? Please do let us know. Drop me an email, put a comment in down below, and please make sure that you subscribe so you'll get access to all of these videos as they appear. I hope your first week in school goes really, really well, and I will see you all on Monday. Stay safe, stay well. Until then, googleman out.